Want to get better at selling? Want to deal with fewer objections? Want to have an easier time getting yeses on the phone with your potential clients? Watch this video. I'm going to share some of my best insights to help you look at how you sell in a different and more effective manner. We've been doing thousands and thousands and thousands of enrollment calls over the past couple of years. I'm going to share some of the best insights I can with you right here. Watch and enjoy. Here's how to close more sales without feeling salesy. If you're a health expert, listen, you have magic that can make a tremendous difference in people's lives, and if you let them go, you let them down. So if you ever get into a conversation where you're feeling like you don't want to keep kind of pushing the situation because you don't want to feel pushy, here's what you say. If the person's like, I don't like feeling pressured, please do not confuse my passion for wanting to help you with pressure. I just know that if we don't do this now, that you're going to continue to suffer, and that's not what I want for you. Is that what you want for yourself? And when you come from this position, that stance of like service, it dissolves a lot of the pressure, because the reality is that they reached out to you, they're wanting your help, and they're in a position where maybe they're fearful, right? They're hesitant, and because they're afraid of the unknown. It's more comfortable to keep doing what they're doing than it is to change. We know that, but that's why people hire coaches, because coaches tell us what to do and what we don't want to hear sometimes that is necessary for our improvement. So when you are really convicted in the solution you have for someone, it's no longer about being pressure. It's not about being pressury. It's about understanding that if I don't enroll this client, assuming there's a mutual fit, I am fundamentally doing a disservice to them. And when you believe that, you're coming from a place of passion for serving them as opposed to pressuring them to buy something. If you ever feel like sticky and slimy around sales, I want to give you something that hopefully will change your mindset. If you are nervous, fix nervous with service. So nervous around selling, etc. Focus on service instead. By that I mean, when you take the pressure off and the focus off you and put it on the prospect, everything changes. It's very similar to speaking from stage. When we take the focus off ourselves and like what we're gonna get out of this or what they're gonna think of us, and we really focus on how do I show up to the best I possibly can for this prospect? How do I care about this person more than they care about themselves with respect to the situation or this goal that they said they want? Because he or she who cares more about the prospect wins. And if you come from that perspective, if I truly, truly care about helping you here, and if I let you go, I let you down. I'm not here to pressure you, it's just my passion for wanting to help you. Because I know that if we don't do this together, you're gonna stay stuck, and I don't want that for you. When you come from that perspective, it doesn't even feel like selling anymore. It comes from a perspective of coaching, of really caring for someone. And that's the way I see selling. But I'll be honest, it took me a very long time to get through my own nonsense up here with selling. So I'm sharing this from personal experience, and hopefully it makes sense for you as well. So here's the #1 sales tip I got from Grant Cardone. A couple years ago, I was at one of his events having lunch with him. He reminded me the fact that a sale is always made. Either the prospect buys what you're selling or you buy their story. And that just like, I'm like, oh my God, that is so true. And I want you to remember that when you are speaking with a prospective client and they tell you anything other than I legitimately do not have the money to pay for this, most often it's a story. I need to think about it, talk to my spouse, I need to sit on a rock for 7 days and meditate about it. I'm not the type of person who makes decisions on the spot. All of those are safety mechanisms, defense mechanisms to prevent them from doing something that is in their best interest but makes them uncomfortable. So you have to get good at being able to persuade someone in the direction that is right for them. Because if you don't, you're going to continue buying their stories, and that's not going to help you nor them. I'm going to share with you what I found to be the easiest way to sell without selling. And it's something I learned from my good friend Dean Jackson, who I think is like the Buddha of marketing. It's called the super signature. It's what you're going to include at the end of your emails. By doing this, it allows you to send more emails that are 100% content because it finishes with a very soft ask. And it goes like this. So you sign off your name, PS, whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways I can help you. And then you just list 3 ways, right? So for us, it might be like watch our webinar, book a call with us, or buy my book, right? Now, obviously you would kind of massage the wording there so it's more in the benefit of the reader as opposed to like your stuff. But the idea here is it's kind of like, you know, when you get that pair of jeans out of the closet after a couple months and you're like, oh my God, I just found 20 bucks. That's kind of what it feels like. It allows you to send out great value in your emails, and sales just kind of trickle in. If you're in a coaching business, you'll get more calls booked. You'll have more clients enrolled because the longer you nurture people, the more value you add to their life, eventually when they are ready, you'll be there in front of them. And if you're top of mind, you're tip of tongue, and if you're tip of tongue, well, you're the first option they're gonna choose when they're ready to move forward. So the super signature as a PS at the bottom of your goodwill type of content emails is a great way to sell without selling. Here's my number one tip to help you enroll your first coaching client. Everyone starts at zero, but some people just stay there longer because they lack the conviction in what they're selling. So if you don't transmit conviction and passion and enthusiasm and a feeling of belief that working with you is going to be the be-all end-all solution for your prospective client, well, they're not going to believe, they're not going to be sold on that either. So you need to be sold first before they're sold. And what does that look like for you? How do you build conviction if you have no social proof? Well, maybe you are N=1. In my case, I was my first client, and I realized that what I went through for myself worked for me, and there must be other humans who have the same physiology as I do, and it must work for them as well. That's where I started. And I understood that it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to help me, and it was good enough to help other people, and eventually it would get better and better and better. And I think if you look introspectively in respect to what it is you're offering, maybe it's something that's helped you in your own journey. And if it helped you, it can definitely help someone else. And if you don't have conviction in what it is you're offering, then here's another thing to think about. Maybe you shouldn't be offering it. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board and skill up. Maybe you got to get real about, like, can I really produce a result for someone? And that's okay if you can't, because it forces you to get better. But if you are good enough in terms of having at least helped one person, which could be yourself, I promise you there are more people out there just like you who you could serve as well. But you gotta bring the conviction, because if you don't, no one's gonna say yes to you. Here are the 2 words you want to hear from a prospect when you're speaking with them on an enrollment call. And it's not yes, and it's not no, although yes is obviously great, but here it is. That's right. Those are the 2 words you want to be listening for, because what it means is that you are feeding back to the prospective client what it is they're sharing with you. So they're going to tell you about their fears and frustrations and their wants and desires. And at some point, in several points in the conversation, you're going to say, well, so what I'm hearing is this. Let me recap what I've heard so far. ... Is that about right? And that person's going to say, yes, that's right. When people feel understood and acknowledged, that is the fastest way to build trust and rapport with them. It's not about talking about the weather and what you have in common. It's about helping them feel understood. And when you do that, that's half the battle won. So look for those 2 words in your conversations, and I would check them off on a piece of paper during your calls. The more you hear them, the more likely you're gonna get to yes at the end.
2, 3, 4. How do we walk the line of explaining just enough, but keeping them speaking mostly throughout the call?
Every conversation is a little bit different, and we have to gather intel. And some conversations, all of that intel might be given when you ask the first question, right? Where are we speaking today?
Yeah.
And they just like dump everything on you. And so they've given
That's
you
usually
reasons why, all that stuff. And you're just like, cool, so that's all done. And then it's like, all right, so we've already talked about where you want to be a year from now, right? We already talked about how shitty the situation is right now. So like, we don't need to go through that again. Cool, what else we can absolve past failures, right? What else have you tried that hasn't worked? Let's talk about that. Cool, awesome. And that might be, who knows, that could be 30 minutes into the call, that could be 10 minutes into the call. The most important thing is like you're always assessing the conversation and asking, like, do I have the required information? For first and foremost, know that we can help this person. Number 2, they would be a good fit for us to work with, right? And they're clear on their level of commitment to this resolution. Like not even your program, but they know they want to solve this once and for all.